split the weekend, coming out on top against Cameron and just falling to Midwestern by 2. Talk about your team's performance this week.
Yeah, I was really proud of the way they came out on Thursday. I felt like we played good team basketball on Thursday. We threw a new zone we had been working on all week, so there were a few missed assignments, but overall I felt like we did a good job and we applied the pressure that we wanted to. And then we did the same thing on Saturday. Part of that was because of some of the players that we were missing. We just didn't feel like we could match up versus a man to them, and so we threw that zone as well. And Coach Jackson just did a nice job of finding ways to get her players open and getting them into position to where they were high percentage shots for them. Those guys can jump and they can rise, and they have a high percentage on the inside, and they just rose above us and scored and hit deadly shots. And so credit to them, they played a really good game on Saturday.
And then looking at that Midwestern State game, y'all won the first and third quarter, and in the second and fourth quarter, they were able to jump ahead by 7. Y'all had Stevens leading it with a big 29, Sawyer and then Maddie Lumsden getting in there with 10. Just talk about how this team closes out and how do they win in those tight moments, since it was only a loss by 2 points.
Right, yeah, I think it's important for us to figure out who's hitting on which day, and we did mention that, Sawyer had hit 2 threes early in the first quarter, then got into foul trouble, so we had to pull her from the lineup. So we knew we had to get the ball to Maddie Stevens, and she did. She did a great job of attacking that zone, finding her shot, which is the inside shot, and then also, when Sawyer did come back in, we were trying to find creative ways to get her the ball, and then on the defensive end, kind of hide her to where she's not getting that other foul. But I felt like overall that game was physical, and we got to respond to that. There's so many times, there was a long period where they had shot 10 free throws and we shot 0. That wasn't all, it's easy to blame the refs, but that goes back on us. Like, we've got to attack just like they are, and they were just more physical than we were during those droughts. The other thing is, and I keep saying this, but this has been the story of the season, is, we miss a shot or we get a stop, and then we go back down to the other side and just throw it away. Then they score on that turnover. That happened 7 times in the Midwestern game, and that's a lot of points that we're just giving away, and we've got to be poised and enough to not let that happen that many times. We aren't afraid of mistakes. Like, we understand that there's going to be mistakes out there, but we've got to be poised in those important moments of the game.
And then this week, y'all are hitting the road, going to Texas Women's and then over to UT Tyler. What are you wanting to see from your team this week that's going to give you the confidence that they can really bounce back and stay in that win column?
I think we just need to watch a lot of film. This morning we had a great practice, and we were going over those times where one mistake leads to the next, and that's the time to pull back. And we actually went over that in practice. And I think, on our end as a coaching staff, we just got to keep making sure that what we say makes sense to the players and that they're understanding it. And I think that's going to give them more confidence on the floor. And then also we've got to make sure, our bench is up and helping us coach on the sideline so that they can hear us coach out there, which I know that sounds crazy, but I think that that's a misunderstanding at times throughout the game. And then we've got to have an extension of the coaching staff out on the floor, and that's where our leaders come in.
Coach, you had a big win on Thursday, turnaround with a hard loss on Saturday. I don't think that this time it was for a lack of effort, that you dealt with earlier in the season. But do you think it's the same kind of energy thing that you said that y'all were struggling with earlier, whereas like you play really well on one game, then you turn right around and it's just not quite the same? Or is it just more of a scheme thing?
Yeah, I just think it's finding ways to motivate this team, different ways. We've got to come up with something that they're going to shoot for. We're kind of in a place within the conference where, we've set ourselves up good enough to get to the tournament, but maybe not win the conference. And so you gotta make them understand, well, what are you shooting for this game? What are we going to try to accomplish? Well, the answer is we've got to iron out all those kinks so that we can make that run in postseason and be playing at our best. And that's what we're trying to preach is it's so important to not take possessions off. And you can't do that in this league. You can't not deny out one possession or they're going to make you pay for that. And you're right, like the effort is there. Even in practice, I couldn't ask any more from these kids. They work hard. But, you know, being confident, in order to be confident, you got to think. You got to know what you're doing out there. And you've got to be able to make plays under pressure. And you got to read defense. And you've got to be able to have a leader out there that can do that for us. And that's what we're working on right now.
Thank you, Coach.